Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Movie Tales comes to you on a fluke. That's right. One night randomly, I am searching through TCM and I see Elia Kazan's name appear on screen, and I'm like, hey, I haven't seen an Elia movie in a while. I'd like to check it out again. What's he up to? What's he doing back in the day? And then I see it's called Splendor in the Grass, and I'm like, what the hell? I don't think I've seen this one. So I clicked on it. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of excited. I have no idea what I'm getting into here. I vaguely remember the name. I just know, I think this is one that had Natalie Wood in it. I have no idea what's really going on in Splendor in the Grass. All I knew was it's Elia Kazan and maybe Natalie Wood, so I went into this entire movie. No expectations. It opens up. We're in a beautiful waterfall. It's just like make-out point, essentially, and we see Natalie Wood in a nice car with Warren Beatty. And I'm like, whoo, my goodness, is Warren Beatty looking young? Because this is one of his first roles ever. And he looks really young, and you just feel instantly that's Beatty. That's Natalie Wood. Two people that I'm actually fans of. I enjoy Beatty for what he does. I enjoy Natalie Wood so much. She's a fantastic, fantastic actress. It's a shame what happened to her. And I'm like, okay, so this is a story about two young people falling in love. Okay, the guy that did East of Eden, I can get behind that. Let's see what you got for me. Then we cut to the next scene, and suddenly I realize, oh, this is what the movie is. Oh, this is something else. So at the day I'm recording this, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world about controlling what women do. And, well, I don't want to touch on that too much. I feel like this is going to be a movie that is going to upset a lot of people. It upset me. I can say from the beginning, like, this is the type of film I think is important for people to watch, but it is hard to talk about and hard to digest if you are not open to exploring what it's saying. This is a movie all about sexual repression, and that is something I don't like. I think we should be open to all terms and all ideas of sexuality, explore these ideas in a healthy and consensual manner. Those are important things to discuss with just in anybody in the world. With your partner, with friends, with anybody you need to discuss these ideas with, you should. I hate the idea of just blocking off people's idea of love or relationships because it's not appropriate. So when this movie starts, you're getting two very different ideas being thrown at these young people. For Natalie Wood, it's her mother telling her, good girls don't go all the way. And that is just infuriating and frustrating. And she's talking about how when she was married, she did it just for her husband. It's a thing a woman does just for her kids. And that a woman doesn't feel those urges the way a man does. And you're just really like, what are you talking about? I get this is a movie from the 60s set in the 20s. It's like, this is really weird. But I guess we haven't really hit the new age of Hollywood yet, have we? And then you got it from the other side of Beatty, who's actually like in love with this girl. He's like, I like her. I want to marry her. And his father's like, you don't want to marry a girl like that till you've had a girl not like her. And it's just like, I can get you a hooker. I can get you whatever you want. Just don't, hitch your horse to one wagon or something. It's like, it's a lot. And then what this movie really explores after that is this idea of sexual repression and how it affects a young person's mind. Because Natalie Wood's character really likes this guy, and she's willing to accept things with him only when it's an appropriate time. And the more and more the story progresses, you see how not being able to feel these feelings and how just avoiding them is affecting her to this really radical point. It is a little extreme, but it's, again, exactly what a lesson like this should be taught about. I guess it's a lot. And that's another thing, too, is just that in the high school, there's this one girl who everyone knows is like one of those girls who's willing to do that stuff. And people look at her like she's wrong. And I'm like, I hate that slut shaming, essentially. It's just really frustrating. I think in this movie, it really affected me. And I'm just like, this is not okay. And I don't like watching this. It really felt off. And this time around, I don't think it was doing a great job. But then as the actual narrative progressed, and like the first 30 minutes are slapping all this bullshit at you, like you can't have sex, girls don't feel that, you're wrong for doing that. But then it's like to the dudes, nah, dude, you gotta get with this type of girl and do that. And I just didn't like the message that was being portrayed there. But as the story progressed, I really liked the evolution of how these relationships evolve. Beatty likes this girl. He's like, I don't want to go to school. I don't need an education. I just want to stay and be with this girl. And as he even goes to Yale, his dad's like, okay, you want to get with this girl? Well, here's one that's a go-go dancer that looks just like her. If you just like that girl, this one looks just like her. Why don't you just get with her? And it's such this aggressive, machismo man just telling his son, quit feeling feelings and just fuck. I really don't think that's a good idea. And again, because it's not just like the idea of like the sexual repression where like good girls don't do that. It's the idea of like a man can't feel the way he's feeling about Natalie Wood. And that is just wrong and inappropriate. And I don't like the way that's being portrayed. But I get it, that these are young people. And again, this is the thing too. They are portraying teenagers. Teenagers don't have the world figured out. And you see that more evidently when Natalie Wood's character flips out because, well, she can't get with some people. She thinks about going all the way, not with the guy she wants to get with. And then we see that she tries to kill herself, and then she gets she goes to a hospital. A mental hospital. And I just feel like this is trying to have both sides of the conversation be met. You know, where it's like, this is a story to talk about, but it's like, this is an extreme version of that. And I don't know if it's doing a great job at that. That's the turning point in this film where suddenly it's like, oh shit, here's the message it's saying. Let your children experience things and learn from their mistakes. That's the lesson it's saying. And then it becomes this really important idea too, where it's like, just because you do something like that and you think you feel these feelings, the more insights you have into them, the more you'll understand that maybe you're better off for not doing those things. Because at the end of this film, Wood and Beatty don't get together. They grow up and realize they weren't good for each other. And again, that's just like the small town consensus of like, don't do the thing. But they also learn a lesson about like, maybe they did love each other and maybe they still do, but the way the world went for them, this is where they are now. I think that's kind of an impressive story to explore and to talk about. And I don't hate it. It's just sometimes I think it's going too loud for what it's trying to do for its quiet moments, and that could be the problem. I like the acting in this. It is surprisingly good. Pat Hingle was unhinged, just shouting and screaming at every scene. His death really took me by surprise because I really thought he was going to be like that one character that you just understand, where you just like, he is everything a rich guy from a small town acts like. He's superior to everybody else, talks down to everybody like they don't matter, and tries to get his son to see that he knows better than everybody, better than the principal, better than the people of the town, better than Natalie Wood's parents. And that is such a frustrating thing. And then you see Ginny, who is his daughter in this, and this again, that's a really tragic character. And I think, I didn't look it up, but I do think there's a moment where they go to a burlesque show, like him and his father, Beatty and his father, and Ginny shows up and they don't recognize her, but she recognizes them. I think that happens. I can't confirm. But that it's a woman who is just like, my dad and my mom, they can't control me. I know what I am about, and this is fine with me. But then as soon as apparently she like makes a scene and all these guys realize the type of woman she is and they try to take advantage of her, that's when she realizes she's got to clean up her act and maybe become something. And eventually it's her downfall. And I think that's a really, really interesting story to portray. Again, I could sing the praises of Natalie Wood until I'm blue in the face. I think she is a national treasure. I adore her so much. She has a lot of great moments in here. There's one where she is like, I think she's in the bath, and she just tries to like drown herself, and she's freaking out because she wants to be the certain version of herself that she knows she can't be. And in a sense, she tries to be that person, kind of Grease-like, where Sandy becomes, a greaser. And it's really interesting. I gotta say, like, that was a really interesting turn that I was impressed with, where she just suddenly realized, I should try this. It didn't work. Then she tries to kill herself, and she does get straightened out, meets another guy she's going to marry. That ending's a little bit on the nose for me, where it's like, oh yeah, she's still going to get married and be a proper lady. It's like, okay, so don't be like Ginny. Okay. And of course, Warren Beatty. Do I even have to say it? From the moment he's on screen, you see the charisma, you see the charm, you see that iconic face. It's him. It's Warren Beatty. This film is very interesting. I think there's a lot of stuff in here that works. A lot of stuff about sexual repression that's a positive outlook. Like, you shouldn't just hide these things away. You should talk about them and experience them and learn from your mistakes. It does have a classic 60s ending where it's like everything ends on a pretty high note where the characters resolve their issues. Everyone's better off for it. It would be later that we would change that, and I think we see this kind of story like played better out in modern stories again, but it's still good. There's still stuff in here I think is impressive. It was an Academy Award winner for a couple of things, so that's kind of cool. And anytime we just get to see Natalie Wood acting her ass off, I'm always happy. She was fantastic in everything she touched, and I really like her. So Splendor in the Grass, I was genuinely surprised by what this film did. And I think there's a lot of good stuff in here that people can just think about and talk about. And I hope I didn't scare you away, because I had a full-on just like roller coaster where I'm like, this is annoying and bad and I don't like it and I don't want to talk about it, to, okay, I see what's going on here, to like, oh, I get it. And I'm still middling on it, but it won me over in the end, and that's pretty impressive for a movie like this. I guess that's something. So Splendor in the Grass. Check it out. And that's going to do it for this episode of Classic Tales. Now, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.